Let's rank the top 25 fights in Jujutsu Kaisen. If you haven't watched the show, then go home and cry to your mom. Starting off with number 25, Nobara versus Momo. Nobara technically doesn't win this fight thanks to Mai's interference, but she may as well have. Not only does she have Momo at her mercy using an innocuous-looking squeaky hammer, but she also manages to get her ideological point across. While Momo describes very real discrimination that women face in the world of sorcery, she also believes it excuses Mai's egregious behavior, as well as her own role in trying to eliminate Itadori. Nobara insists that there's no excuse for bad behavior, and emphasizes her own sky-high self-esteem in the face of discrimination. It's clear that her confidence gave her the boost she needed to take on Momo, whose own negative outlook made it harder for her to focus on the fight at hand. Number 24, Maki versus Miwa. Before Miwa fought Maki, Mai assured her that Maki was weak. After Miwa fought Maki, she realized that was complete nonsense. Using a combination of spears, kunai, and aikido, Maki barely gives Miwa a chance to activate any of her cursed techniques. She tries to activate new shadow style, simple domain, and use Bado sword drawing, but Maki disarms her quickly and abandons her to go fight Mai. It's a quick fight, but it shows just how awesome Maki really is. Number 23, Panda versus Mechamaru. Panda's core transformations and Mechamaru's wide range of weapons and cannons made for an exhilarating fight that could have gone in either direction. But what really made the fight interesting were the backstories that were revealed. Panda is a sentient cursed corpse, while Mechamaru is a robot being piloted by a severely disabled teenager named Kokichi. While Panda thinks the two have a lot in common, Kokichi resents Panda for being able to move around freely outside and is jealous of pretty much everyone around him. Despite having just beaten his robot proxy to a pulp, Panda is able to sympathize with Kokichi while also offering a more positive way to look at things. Number 22, Panda and Inumaki versus Ghetto. A classic way to emphasize the power of antagonists is to show them wiping the floor with our heroes. And this battle between Panda, Toge, and the series villain Ghetto is truly a sight to behold. While it doesn't last very long, watching Panda and Toge combine to take on such an impressive foe is an awe-inspiring sight. Moreover, getting to see Panda's more powerful form in full flight is not something we have seen since the show aired almost 2 years ago. On top of that, this is the first time we have seen the serious power of Ghetto, someone who has been lurking in the shadows of JJK since the show premiered. Number 21, Suguru Ghetto versus Shikigami Curse User. This match between Ghetto and the Shikigami Curse User may have been short, but it gave insight into Ghetto's quick thinking during battle. The Shikigami user quickly analyzes the situation and deducts that Ghetto is bad at close combat. Using this, he waits for an opening to strike, coming up behind the young sorcerer in an attempt to bring him down hand to hand. What he didn't realize was that this was Ghetto's plan from the beginning. Being 2 steps ahead, Ghetto knows that the older fighter will assume that getting closer will be at his advantage, when really it will be his downfall. Ghetto takes his opponent down expertly, to the point where the old man says he saw his life flash before his eyes. Number 20, Yuta and Inumaki versus Cursed Spirits. While on a mission that's supposed to be simple, Yuta and Inumaki run into an unexpectedly dangerous curse that can create gigantic beams of destructive light. At first, they're totally blindsided and nearly defeated, but after they get a chance to regroup and figure out a strategy, Yuta is able to help Inumaki get a hold of his lost throat medicine, enabling him to finally use his cursed speech to defeat the creature. Number 19, Maki versus Mai. Despite the fact that Mai can use cursed energy and Maki can't, Maki is a far more formidable fighter. After Mai sacrifices all of her cursed energy to generate a bullet from nothingness, Maki is able to catch the bullet with her bare hand. Mei has no options left, and Maki easily claims victory by extending her sword. As a minor victory, this fight might not have made the list, if not for its emotional resonance. Number 17, Sukuna versus Jogo. Although it's questionable whether this can be really classified as a fight, Jogo doesn't even manage to get a hit on Sukuna, who completely destroys the former. The stunning visuals of it all can't be ignored. Mappa didn't hold back when capturing the intensity of the brawl, using extreme attention to detail when it came to the crashing buildings, flying cars, and a huge meteor being dropped on the city. The beatdown ultimately resulted in Jogo losing his life. It may not have been a balanced battle, but it was definitely an entertaining one, and has since become one of the most beloved of the Shibuya incident arc. Number 16, Gojo versus Miguel. Despite the surrounding area being filled with dangerous curses, Gojo has to focus his efforts on Miguel, one of Geto's strongest subordinates. Miguel fights using a braided rope imbued with cursed energy that took decades for his family to weave. This rope can stop other people from using cursed energy, but as it's used, the material disappears. While fighting against Gojo, Miguel uses the whole rope. While Gojo wins the fight, he has to struggle a bit to make it happen. And considering how strong we all know Gojo is, that's saying something. Number 15, Mechamaru versus Mahito. Although this fight isn't a major plot point for the series, it is an interesting match to watch, with the Kokichi's unique Mechamaru puppets going up against the major antagonist of Mahito. Despite there being a clear winner from the beginning, seeing Kokichi use puppet manipulation always makes for an enjoyable fight. Mappa didn't pull out any stops for this battle, and beautifully animated Mahito's domain expansion, as well as the push and pull between these characters. Overall, it's an unexpectedly intense fight that sets the tone for the rest of the Shibuya arc. Number 14, Sukuna versus Mahoraga. Love him or hate him, any fight is bound to be interesting if the King of Curses is involved. Throw in one of the strongest Shikigami in all of Jujutsu Kaisen, and you've got a show. While some of Sukuna's fights are more of just him completely obliterating his opponent, this battle against Mahoraga gave him at least a bit of a struggle, and that's what makes it such a good watch. The talented artists behind this matchup held nothing back as they put both characters' strength on full display. With Mahoraga's ability to adapt to Sukuna's attacks, the back and forth of the two left the entirety of Shibuya in destruction. Sukuna's use of domain expansion, Malavent Shrine, made for a stunning and powerful conclusion to the fight that is known amongst the fans as being one of JJK's best fights. Number 13, Gojo versus Sukuna. Sukuna may be one of the most dangerous curses in history, but when he's just manifested in the body of an untrained teenager whose body he can't seem to fully take over, he's at a bit of a disadvantage. The other disadvantage is that he's up against Satoru Gojo, one of the strongest sorcerers in the world. Gojo is able to avoid any real damage until Yuji regains control, and he's even able to show off his nimble fighting style. Number 12, Megumi versus Fingerbearer. The clash between Megumi and the special grade cursed spirit containing one of Sukuna's fingers is probably the fight that best shows off Megumi's abilities. At first, Megumi is convinced that defeating the curse is impossible, but once he's able to focus on his future potential instead of his current limitations, he's able to channel that future power and defeat the Fingerbearer. By blending in with liquid shadows and summoning multiple Shikigami, he's able to avoid fatal blows and eventually land one of his own. Number 11, Suguru Geto versus Toji Fushiguro. Toji Fushiguro has defeated Gojo and killed Riko before Suguru Geto gets a go at him, and this battle further proves that the sorcerer killer is not one to be messed with. Geto quickly attacks using Rainbow Dragon, but that's easily sliced in half with Toji's longsword curse tool. Toji then gets caught inside a domain, resulting in a scuffle with an imaginary vengeful spirit, but that is also handled with ease. When Ghetto appears behind him, Toji is so unbothered that he doesn't even turn around. Instead, he quickly slashes both his opponents, kicks Ghetto's unconscious body to the side, and leaves. Number 10, Nanami versus Shigemo. It is a less of a fight and more of a brutal beatdown, courtesy of Nanami. After interrupting Shigemo's attacks on Nobara, Nanami steps in, but his sheer power and force are much more than Shigemo can handle, even with his miracles technique. The match was off-balanced and short-lived, but made for some unforgettable scenes. Multiple shots from the fight went viral throughout the anime community, with the most recognizable being when Nanami grabs Shigemo by his ponytail. Number 9, Gojo versus Jogo. Before Gojo's showdown with the flame-spewing curse, everyone knew he was powerful, but the full extent of his abilities don't become apparent until this fight. He uses a move called Infinity, which functionally makes him impossible to touch. By using his curse technique reversal, Red, he's able to create enough energy to send Jogo flying. Gojo eventually expands his unlimited void domain and forces Jogo to process so much information at once that his brain nearly shuts down. We're really glad we're not Jogo in this fight. Number 8, Itadori and Nobara versus Iso and Kachizu. This fight contains one of Nobara's greatest moments. After the Death Womb paintings hit her with a poisonous attack, she's able to use her straw doll technique, Resonance, to transfer her pain straight to them. It's a moment of triumph for her, and it plays a big part in the enemy's ultimate defeat. But at the end of the fight, Nobara and Yuji have to contend with the reality of what just happened. This was Nobara's first time taking a life. While she isn't initially bothered by it, Yuji is. Number 7, Itadori and Todo versus Mahito. After Yuji witnesses the harm his friends have endured during the Shibuya incident, he's at his wit's end. Knowing this, Mahito takes the chance to beat down the sorcerer. That is, until Yuji's besto friendo Todo steps in. Using his technique Boogie Woogie, he buys himself enough time to remind Yuji that their friends are still alive within them, so long as they continue to fight. Together, the brothers-in-arms take on Mahito and give him a real run for his money. With Todo's expert ability to switch positions of anyone on the battlefield, Mahito struggles to take down both sorcerers at once. Despite pulling out all the stops, including domain expansion and idol transfiguration, the cursed spirit can't seem to get a one-up on the duo. His fatal mistake occurred when Todo tricked Mahito into anticipating a switch, despite no longer being able to enact Boogie Woogie. In doing so, an opening was created for Yuji to land Black Flash and win the battle. Number 6. Itadori and Nanami versus Mahito. Though Yuji has plenty of motivation to annihilate Mahito, after the curse cruelly takes Junpei's life in front of his eyes, he's no match for him at first. Just before Mahito lands a fatal blow, Nanami shows up and saves him. The two have to deal with Mahito's constant transformations and attempts to trap them in his domain, all while being forced to encounter the ruined bodies of people Mahito has transfigured. They're still alive, and they're begging Yuji to take them out. This horrifies him, and it makes it hard to focus on the fight. In the end, it's neither Yuji nor Nanami who gets Mahito to scuttle off into the sewer. It's Sukuna, who shows off his might when Mahito dares make contact with his soul. Number 5. Itadori and Todo versus Hanami. After Hanami turns a competition between schools into a survival game, Todo and Yuji team up to try and defeat him. While Hanami is attacking with a range of dangerous cursed plants, Todo and Yuji combine punches, kicks, and Black Flash with Todo's Boogie Woogie technique. Boogie Woogie lets him rapidly switch places with a target of his choosing. By moving Hanami around, they're able to confuse the curse while targeting their attacks. Yuji might have thought Todo was a little weird at first, but now he knows that when things get intense, he can count on him in battle. Number 4. Gojo Satoru versus Toji Fushiguro, Round 2. At the end of their previous match, Toji had stabbed Gojo straight through the throat, proudly declared he ended the young sorcerer's life, and successfully assassinated Riko Amanai. However, Gojo reappears before Toji standing and smiling, claiming that he had used a reverse curse technique to stop himself from dying. With the pinnacle of the sorcerer world in front of him, Toji can't help himself, and his pride leads him to another match against Gojo. While he's still able to use his skills to hold his own for a bit, Gojo now has the information he needs to come out on top. Realizing that Toji must have been a part of the Zenin clan, and has information on the Gojo family's cursed techniques, he uses one that is rare amongst even Gojo members themselves. Hollow Purple. The move is more than enough to shoot a hole through Toji's torso, end his life, and crown Gojo as the victor. Number 3. Itadori versus Choso. Fights are aplenty in the Shibuya arc, and this match pitting Yuji against Choso is one of the most notable ones. While Yuji seems to have the upper hand in physical combat, Choso is able to overpower him using his blood manipulation technique. Choso's ability to harden his blood within his body gives him a huge defensive advantage that proves to be too much even for Yuji's combat talents. After an intense battle, Choso does emerge victorious, but is left with a strange scene of him and Itadori as brothers playing in his head. Number 2. Yuta versus Ghetto. In order to fulfill his goal of eliminating all non-sorcerer humans, Ghetto needs more power. He decides that a great source of that power is Rika, a super strong curse that's attached to Yuta Okotsu. In order to get Rika's power for himself, Ghetto must destroy Yuta. Yuta doesn't understand Ghetto's goal, but he knows he isn't about to let himself be defeated by someone who just knocked out all of his friends. So he makes a declaration of immortal love to Rika, and promises to be with her for eternity if she'll lend him every ounce of strength she has. This allows him to create a massive beam of energy that doesn't just take out Ghetto, but also destroys the vengeful spirit Tamamo no Mae incarnate and the maximum Uzumaki technique that Ghetto created out of thousands of curses. Number 1. Gojo Satoru versus Toji Fushiguro, Round 1. Gojo Satoru is widely considered one of the strongest sorcerers in the series, even when he was a teenager. So if someone is able to not only get a jump on him in battle, but also give him a run for his money, you know they're a powerful opponent. Toji Fushiguro proves to be that person when he ambushes Gojo immediately after the Star Plasma Vessel's escort team arrives at Tokyo Jujutsu High. Toji's absence of cursed energy makes tracking his movements near impossible for Gojo, and as a result, the battle is over almost as quickly as it started. The talented Gojo is taken down in minutes with slices going straight through his body, and Toji's physical skills leave him victorious.